Let's talk about something pretty wild. Imagine taking one of the most established technologies on the internet, one that powers millions of websites, and just starting over, from scratch. That's exactly what happened here. This is the story of how ASP.NET was completely reinvented for the modern web. And we're basing this whole breakdown on an amazing resource, the book ASP.NET Core in Action, 3rd edition by Andrew Locke. We're going to unpack the core ideas from his work to really understand why this massive shift happened.
So that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you take something that's been a workhorse for over a decade, something people rely on, and rebuild it from the ground up? As we're about to see, the answer wasn't just a simple update, it was a complete revolution.
Okay, so to get why the new version is such a big deal, we have to go back in time. We need to understand the old world of ASP.NET, a framework that was, for all intents and purposes, born and raised entirely inside the Windows ecosystem.
I mean, look at this timeline. It goes way back to 2002. And for years, it got better and better, adding huge features like MVC in 2009. But here's the kicker, the key to this whole story. For more than 13 years, every single version was built on the exact same aging foundation.
And that foundation was this one single massive file, system.web.dll. You have to understand, this wasn't just some library you added to your project. Nope, it was baked into the Windows operating system itself. That connection was its biggest strength and, eventually, its greatest weakness. And yeah, that weakness really started to show. Because while ASP.NET was tied to Windows, the rest of the web was exploding in every direction. We're talking open source, the cloud, Linux, containers, and the old tools were just not built for this new world. The author Andrew Locke just nails this feeling with a personal story. He was a Windows developer, through and through. Then his job gave him a Mac. And to do his work, he was forced to run a clunky virtual machine all day long. It was a pain, and it was a perfect symbol of the bigger problem everyone was facing.
So let's just break it down. The old framework was trapped. It was welded to Windows and its web server IIS. Because it was one giant monolithic library, you had to take the whole thing, even the parts you didn't need. This made it slow to update, and it just couldn't compete in the new world of Linux servers and Docker containers.
So clearly, something had to give, and it did, in a huge way. The team decided not just to patch the old framework, but to start over with a brand new one, built for the way the web actually works today. And that was the birth of ASP.NET Core. And this diagram, wow, it says it all. On the right, you've got the old way. See how it's locked into the Windows-only .NET framework? It's stuck. Now look at the left. That's the new world. ASP.NET Core runs on a completely new cross-platform .NET, which means it's finally free. And that was promise number one, total freedom. The freedom to build your app on a Mac, run it on a Linux server in the cloud, or, hey, stick with Windows if you want. The choice was finally yours. The chains were broken.
Promise number 2 was about tearing down the walls. The entire framework was built out in the open, on GitHub, for everyone to see. Any developer on the planet could now read the source code, suggest changes, and actually be a part of its future. This was a massive cultural shift.
And finally, the third promise, and a huge one for a lot of people, pure performance. By starting over, they could obsess about speed. They re-architected everything to be lightweight and modular, creating one of the absolute fastest web frameworks out there.
All right, so we've got this new foundation. It's cross-platform, it's open source, it's incredibly fast. So what does that mean for you? What kind of modern apps can you actually build with this thing? Let's pop the hood and look at the toolkit. You basically get this whole menu of options now. If you need a super fast, lightweight backend for a mobile app, you grab minimal APIs. Building a more classic server-rendered website? Razor Pages got you covered. Want to build a rich, interactive front-end experience like you'd get with React or Angular? That's what Blazor is for. It's a complete toolkit for pretty much any web project you can dream up.
And this really gets to the core philosophical difference. The old way was like buying a giant all-in-one stereo system from the 90s. You got the tape deck and the 6 CD changer whether you wanted them or not. The new way is like building with Legos. You only pick the exact bricks you need. This keeps your app small, fast, and way easier to manage.
Okay, so we've covered the why and the what. Now for the how. How does a web framework like this actually, work? Let's demystify it and follow the journey of a single click from your browser all the way to the server and back again. So everything on the web, literally everything, is a conversation. It's called HTTP. Your browser sends a request saying, hey, can I see the homepage? And the server sends a response saying, sure, here's all the code to display it. That back and forth is the heartbeat of the internet.
In ASP.NET Core, that conversation is super efficient. First, the request from the internet hits a built-in web server called Kestrel. Now, Kestrel is the secret sauce for speed. It's lean, it's mean, and it's cross-platform. It acts as the gatekeeper, grabbing that raw request and handing it off to your application's code. Your code does its thing, figures out what to do, and creates a response. Then it hands that response right back to Kestrel, which zips it across the internet to the user.
And this diagram from the book just lays it all out perfectly. You can see the request coming in from the wild internet, getting handled by that speedy web server, then passed to your application logic, that's the box in the middle where you write your code, and then sent right back out as a response. That's the whole dance right there.
And what's so cool about this whole story is that this brand new, modern framework is still standing on the shoulders of giants. It carries over 20 years of lessons learned from building web applications. It wasn't about throwing all that experience away. It was about reimagining it for a totally new era.
So when you look at it, the story of ASP.NET Core is more than just a tech story. It's a lesson that even the biggest, most established players can make brave choices to completely reinvent themselves. And it kind of makes you wonder, what other piece of foundational technology that we use every day is getting ready for its own revolution?